welcome to another installment of the Fragments of Silicon Reviews. 4 reviews up this week, as usual. The first of which is Aries. We are assuming that's how that's pronounced. It is an acronym, if you can see the screen. A.R.E.S. and Extinction Agenda. That is the subtitle. The A.R.E.S. Extinction Agenda. This is actually something I pulled from my library because I had 2 games break on me in various ways, rendering them unreviewable. Like, probably eventually going to reassign one of them to the, one of the team here once, appropriate funding is provided. The other one was horse racing, and I don't think anyone here knows how to do horse racing. So,
Pony go fast around track. That's about it that I know of.
Well, I mean, specifically how to calculate odds. Like, believe me, even before the game broke, I was debating whether to just scrap it because I'm like, I have no idea how any of this works. Like, and I'm not really keen to learn how this works. But, like I said, sometimes games break on us. Like, and, when they break, things have to fill the void. Like, and so Aries was the first game I saw and said, okay, why not? Like, I have a lot of games lying around. And with that explanation out of the way, A.R.E.S. Extinction Agenda is a side-scrolling run-and-gun platformer. Much like the recently reviewed Bite the Bullet, actually provides a bit of a nice contrast. This was not planned, it just worked out that way, at least in my view. Because A.R.E.S. has about the exact opposite problems that we outlined in Bite the Bullet. As in, A.R.E.S. is a very competent platformer, a very competent run and gun. Solid mechanics, good game feel. It's like appropriate momentum and stopping. None of this inertia shit that just ruined Bite the Bullet. But if you're seeing the, I think you have to hit down in X or down in A to get past that slidey bit. Like,
I'm on mouse and keyboard. Didn't want to use my controller.
Oh,
jumping down and jump.
Yeah. Anyway, it's like it's got your standard jump. It's got a double jump. You got your roll maneuver. You've got grenades of various types. You've got your fragmentary grenades, and you got like your EMP grenades, which allow you to enter hidden areas. And you can do things like, eventually you get the power to boost with the grenades, stuff like that. It's all fairly standard stuff. And like I said, that's feeding into the issues that this game has. At least the broader issues. But before I get into that, I suppose the thing that this game brings to the table that at least was probably unique at the time, it is worth noting that Aries is actually quite an old game at this point, having been released in 2011, which probably explains a few things. Probably explains its presentation in general, but I'll get to that. But, Petty is showing off here like I said, what would have been the unique feature of the time? A crafting system. I'm like, obviously, we have seen crafting infest gaming a lot more in the preceding 11 years. But it definitely would not have been as prevalent, and especially not in a run and gun. And it works like, well, a crafting system would. You craft not only upgrades, but you can also craft replenishments. You get enough scrap and you can get more grenades. of both types. You can get more health. Um, and I guess what I can say about that is it works. I can't say it really added anything to the game other than, yeah, it was nice to be able to generate a heal during a boss fight. But aside from that, it's like, in fact, it's kind of a detriment because, well, you know what usually comes along with crafting, right?
Grinding.
Yep. Very perceptive. And yeah, you'll probably be doing that here because, you might want to power up that the gun you just got, or you want to get the next level of grenade. And you do that by getting the scrap, and you do that, and the game handles enemy generation Mega Man style. As soon as you're off screen, they're back. Unless we're talking about rooms like this, which are presets where you fight a bunch of enemies and then you get a bunch of scrap. Also worth noting, you won't be able to access everything, every secret, first time around. This is very much an upgrade game. It's like, no, it's not a Metroidvania. It's like very much not in that mold. It's just, it's more, think Mega Man X in that regard. And not so much upgrades as like, well, the reds are the upgrade. It's the weapons, but the blue are the dossiers. Telling you what the enemies, the allies, all that kind of flavor text. And anyway, been teasing it a bit, but I would definitely say that the biggest problem with the game, and it's not the worst problem to have, is, well, look at the thing. It's very, very utilitarian. Like, not just in, like, just in terms of, not just in terms of, like, mechanics or things of that nature, but, the level design, the controls, the actual art is pretty bland. Like, this is one of those games where you're probably gonna, like, if you were looking at a glance, you probably wouldn't be able to tell that certain segments were separate stages. And indeed, I'm trying to find if they actually spell out the acronym here, and I'm not seeing it. Anyway, Aries is pretty bland himself. Apparently, like the Steam version has like an indigo pulse suit, which might look a bit better, but I said, and that's how I would describe this game overall. It's functional, it's solid, but nothing beyond that. And I'll be honest, I don't think we get a game like this in the here and now. At least would be a lot more rare because the indie scene has really gravitated towards the sprite work, usually retro styled aesthetics to games of this nature. Like, this looks more like a budget PlayStation 2 game. I'm not saying that in a bad way. I'm just saying, like, in terms of actual fidelity, I think that's where we would place it. Yeah, and worth noting that this game was old enough to come out in like the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3. I don't know if it, I don't know if it got too many re-releases. I think it might have gotten a PlayStation 4, Xbox One re-release, because it is worth noting that there is a Ares Extinction Agenda EX, but never owned that one, and it's got enough changes where I would have to talk about that in a separate review. It's like, apparently it's got redone UI, redone controls, new high resolution textures, new levels, new adjusted maps. Like they did quite the overhaul. They even gave you a sidekick in this one, so it's a substantial enough upgrade, which is probably why the original version didn't vanish. So I couldn't speak to the EX version at this time, but in regards to the original Extinction agenda, it's fine. Like I said, it's not as exciting, or it doesn't look as good, or it's trying as many new interesting ideas as the Bite the Bullet game we've referenced before, but it also doesn't have this maybe tiny thing that made sense to the devs at the time but ended up ruining the game. Doesn't have that. I won't lie, I did fall off of this just because of how vanilla it is. But it's like there's nothing inherently wrong with vanilla. Do keep that in mind. Also, it's very super affordable these days. I'm not sure if this is the price it launched at, but these days, at least on Steam, the original game is going for $4.99. It's got a couple of DLC things. The Berserker suit, some cosmetic DLC, and the original soundtrack, which actually clocks in for quite a bit, $5. The music was okay, very intense, very appropriate, but once again, it's very functional. I think that is the word I would describe to use overall in pretty much every regard. Sometimes that lines up. Anyway, the Berserker suit is $1. The original soundtrack runs you $4.99. Just picked up the complete edition, just in general, because that's $6.99. This game and all its accoutrements is certainly worth $7. I would not pay $5 for the soundtrack. As far as the EX edition, should you wish to go with that, that is a even $9.99, $10. Once again, also worth noting, if you own the original A.R.E.S. Extinction agenda on Steam, you will receive an exclusive support drone, Apollo. See, that's the sidekick that they added to this game. So, anyway, can't speak to EX, but I can give a solid recommend to A.R.E.S, especially at $5 to $7. Even if you don't find a lot of interest to it, it's got really good fundamentals, and it's like those are really, really important, because if you screw that up, it's like I don't care how interesting your ideas are. And there's a debate to be had about doing that intentionally versus non-intentionally, but I really don't think Bite the Bullet was going for an intentionally shitty design. But it's like, if you don't have your fundamentals down, then I'm less interested in your more creative ideas. Anyway, any further comments, questions, or concerns about A.R.E.S?
I think it's fine.
Yeah, I thought you would. Anyway, so that'll about do it for A.R.E.S. Be sure to tune in after the break, as Petty Fan will be reviewing Julie's Sweets.